We begin with breaking news tonight in a potential bombshell ruling. The Supreme Court may be about to overturn both Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood v. Casey, eliminating the right to an abortion.
Politico was the first to obtain a 98-page draft majority opinion posted on their website, allegedly written by Justice Samuel Alito to overturn the landmark rulings. Politico reports at least 5 of the 9 justices are on board with giving states the power to decide the legality of abortion. No word how this draft was leaked, and we still have not individually verified the information yet. We'll keep you posted as we learn more.
Tonight, Fargo city officials claim a local developer could be in a breach of contract after missing the deadline for the completion of a project near NDSU's campus. Valley News Team's Nishay Taylor explains why some city commissioners are upset over how the project was handled.
Roar's Development was contracted to continue the ongoing construction at the St. Paul's Newman Center on University Drive. This particular project also included the development of student housing and the requirement to build 7 townhomes in the Roosevelt neighborhood.
The apartments, those were occupied in July of last year, so they've been open for 10 months. There's no work yet on the townhomes.
The contract between Roar's and the city ended in December of last year.
I think he's lied to all of us. He lied to the Roosevelt Neighborhood Association. And this is it, and it's common. That's what big developers think they can get away with.
And during Monday's City Commission meeting, commissioners expressed their displeasure with the project not being completed as anticipated.
This is a breaking of a contract. So when a contract is broken, it's null and void.
This project tested our relationship with our neighborhoods. It tested the fiber of our agreements with our neighborhoods and our people.
Jim Roars, the president of Roars Development, says a few factors contributed to the ongoing delays.
The congestion began to be a real issue for us, where the cost to construct those homes has greatly changed the dynamics or the numbers involved in building those 7 townhomes.
He also says he was unaware of the time restraint, which is creating the bigger issue.
I have apologized for the fact that timing is maybe not on our side.
But Commissioner Dave Pepcorn was not convinced.
Need to come down very hard on a bad actor like this, because clearly the intentions were all along this way.
In Fargo, Nishay Taylor, Valley News Live.
New tonight, the trial for a former West Fargo assistant city administrator has been canceled. It was set to begin tomorrow. Tim Solberg has changed his plea to guilty for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Officers were called to Solberg's home back in January when the victim told police Solberg threw her to the ground, leaving her unconscious. Documents say 3 children were home at the time. Solberg is sentenced to 1 year of unsupervised probation and a $325 fine.
All right, outside this week, drier and warmer for the first week of May. First Alert Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson joins us now live with the details. Hutch.
Justin, thank you. We are thankful for that dry stretch of weather because the flood fight will continue for many areas. Starting first where things are, one hot spot up in the Northern Valley where you see these purple gauge sites are where the forecast is for major flooding. Netchie, Pembina, Drayton, Oslo. We've shown you many of these battles going on near Oslo and in Drayton, but let's take you to the latest news near Netchie. There's Highway 18. Samuel sharing these photos. You can see the tractor here on Highway 18 cutting the town off now because, well, that thoroughfare is covered and inundated with water. Thanks, Samuel, for sharing your photos. Again, water running over road surfaces. Here's the forecast for the Pembina River at Netchie, also expected to just stay high for the next several days. So the fight will continue there as we go through the week, and they could remain locked away from getting outside of their community for some time. Here's that Forest River at Minto, also a problem. That forecast, though, is showing some promising signs over the next few days. Falling. Good news. And as we take a look at that Pembina River at Pembina, we're expecting it to continue rising there. So the fight will continue along the northern Red River. Now, as you head south through the Oslo area, this is I-29 where there's some problems. Zachary, thanks for your video. Oslo expected to hover very near record stage in major stage for the next few days. Diving down to the southern valley, here's Fargo, Moorhead, Harwood, the Cheyenne River, the West Fargo diversion, that's purple there, major flood stage, and into Kindred as well, as the river levels along Kindred are expected to continue rising in the major flood stage. We'll keep you apprised of the latest, but as mentioned, that dry forecast will help things out substantially. We'll look ahead towards our next chance of rain in a moment.
All right, thanks, Hutch.
Washed out roads continue to be a concern across the valley, and it's keeping first responders on their toes. They're forced to use alternate routes when called to emergencies. In Enderlin and Sheldon, the assistant fire chief tells us they haven't had any issues getting to people yet, but response times can take a hit, and the department has created backup routes just in case. Sometimes they call on farmers for help.
These roads are just inundated with water, and some are just extremely soft, making fire response dangerous and slow. It's really dangerous at night because you cannot see the water. Even if it's not deep, you could hydroplane on it and end up in the deep water and be a victim yourself.
Meanwhile, flooding is keeping many local plumbers busy. Folks at the Landry Heating, AC, and Plumbing say they had 150 sump pump calls just in the last week.
We've been seeing a lot where even when they've been having a working sump pump and everything like that, if the water was getting dumped right next to the foundation, they've been still having water down in the basement and stuff like that. So it definitely does help to have a working sump pump and working gutters to be able to keep your basement dry during these wet months.
Landry says right now they're booked at least 3 days out.
New tonight, new project changes are coming for the 32nd Avenue reconstruction project. It's been redesigned to be constructed in 4 phases for the corridor between 22nd and 32nd Streets. Each phase would require shutting down portions of the corridor for between 45 and 75 days. The city plans to rebid on the project next month after cost estimates came in higher than expected. The city is also offering incentives to encourage a faster completion of every phase. The plan is to have the entire project done by October of next year.
New tonight, one man is under arrest following a police incident in Fargo. Police say around 2:30 in the morning they were trying to pull over a driver in the 4700 block of 13th Avenue South for a reported stolen vehicle. The car wouldn't pull over. Police eventually had to set up a perimeter with multiple other agencies. They used stop sticks to catch the driver. 34-year-old Chad Burney was now arrested for fleeing, possession of a stolen vehicle, possession of meth paraphernalia, driving with a suspended license, and driving under the influence. The vehicle was then returned to its rightful owner. A whirlwind 3-day trip to our nation's capital ended with fanfare tonight. A huge crowd turning out to greet returning veterans who traveled to D.C. for the first honor flight in more than 2.5 years.
Valley News Team's Mike Morkin was along. He joins us live in studio. Welcome back, Mike.
Thank you, Justin and Stacy, and let me begin by thanking the people who patiently waited and then really welcomed home more than 80 veterans to Hector tonight. Their enthusiasm, which included music, applause, signs, and flag waving, that was the best way to end an incredible tour of the major memorials in just 3 days. I witnessed tonight tears in family members' eyes as their loved one came down the escalator or was wheeled around through the crowd. Some of these veterans had to wait a long time to go on this trip because of the pandemic, so finally making the journey and having such a great time was rewarding for them and a reward for many who showed up to support them.
It's mind-blowing because I wasn't there when my grandfather came home or anything, so yep, it's an honor to serve my veterans.
And to see the people come off the plane and the tears in their eyes and the response that they get, it's unbelievable.
And they deserve it.
Tonight's festivities was one of several really touching moments on this trip. Earlier this afternoon, as our veterans made their way to the World War II Memorial, a group of students from San Francisco stopped and proceeded to applaud and thank everyone as they passed by. It really was an incredible thing to witness, and it was not lost on our veterans. Thanks also needs to go out to the people behind the honor flight of North Dakota and Minnesota. There are some 40 core individuals, all volunteers I might add, that make this possible. I can assure you that they see to it that all T's are crossed, all I's are dotted,
when it comes to taking care of these veterans from World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. I can honestly report, mission accomplished. Justin, Stacy.
Thanks, Mike. We should also mention today another group of veterans arrived in Washington from Arizona. That means since the honor flight started, 250,000 veterans across the country have now been able to visit our nation's capital.